Today I'm going to show you the easiest way to squeeze the lemon of your website, how to generate more revenue from your e-commerce store. And this is not improving your conversion rate. It's way easier to improve your average order value. And by doing this, it's often very simply following a certain method that takes you through each of the steps required to make sure that your customers are spending the most possible, right? Because these customers are already paying you, they already love your product. So how can you offer them more at a higher price and give more value in return? So today I've prepared this fig jam that basically shows you everything you need to know about it. So let's just dive right in. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is understand where are you currently at, because after making all these changes, you want to know exactly how much additional revenue you've generated. Now, of course, you could do this by improving the conversion rate, but improving the AOV has the exact same effect. So let's here quickly look at a store A and a store B. Now, store A has a much higher conversion rate, 3.2, versus store B, 2.4%. But the AOV is flipped around. So here the AOV is much lower than on store B. And therefore, the average revenue per session or per user is much higher on the site with the lower conversion rate. So if you improve the conversion rate with 10%, you make 10% more money. And the same is true for the average order value. Improve it by 10%, you make 10% more money. So what you do is absolutely equal, but AOV is just easier. Now, where are you currently at, right? Each industry has a different average order value benchmark, and you can compare yours to that industry average. So if we take jewelry, which of course is way more expensive than some electronics or some fashion, right? So check how far you're off from the industry average, and then you can see how big of a problem you actually have. But even if you're doing well, you should continuously optimize to even improve it further. But of course, at some point you get diminishing returns and you might be better off spending your time improving the conversion rate. Now, there's a different segment that performs very differently when it comes to AOV. And we can see that on desktop, people are often spending way more. And that is because their intention is often much higher, right? The conversion rate is generally higher as well. But generating traffic from desktop is more expensive than from mobile. And then also the traffic source is very different. If you have returning customers coming from email marketing, of course, they already know your brand and they already love it, and these are expected to spend way more. But if you're generating cold traffic, these customers have no idea who you are, what you sell, and why they should trust you. So the AOV is naturally much lower. Now, given all that, that helps you understand where you're at and what to do. So now let's get into the good part and actually look at the 7 steps that you need to take to improve the AOV. And I'll show you exactly 7 big brands that you're familiar with, how they do it, and what you can steal from them. Okay, the first thing, we've already looked at your current AOV. If you're far off, you know what to do. And why orders stay small? This is often the trigger that should help you understand what you're missing out on. So let's just quickly go through them. So the first one, and most obvious, is nothing prompts a second item. There is a big chunk of your customers that already love your product and they want more of it, but you don't offer it. So just prompting them a second item or a bigger quantity often just results in these customers buying more because they would have purchased otherwise, but now you possibly give them a little bit of a discount. Now the next one is wrong price anchoring. This is important too, because if you scare them off with a very high price, they might not continue in the funnel. But if you first start with a cheaper one, it sets the expectations very differently. So you can play with the price too. I'll show you a few examples in a second. And then we also have no threshold signal. Often when you don't offer benefits to your customers, of course they're not going to spend more. So you want to generate thresholds that if they reach that in terms of AOV or loyalty, they get something in return. So you're basically motivating them, right? Your catalog is the ceiling, is the fourth one. So if you sell products if you sell products with a price of $100, of course people are not going to buy a product for $200. It doesn't exist. So your catalog basically sets the limit on how much people are able to spend. So if you want to have a higher AOV, you could generate products, services that are way above that at a higher price point. And believe me, every service business, every product business always has a 10-15% of really loyal customers that you almost own in their purchase behavior, and they would want more of you at a higher price. And the fifth one is mobile friction. As I mentioned earlier, the AOV is very distinct when it comes to mobile or desktop, but that's often also caused because on shopping on mobile is just a bit harder and it's riskier to make big decisions. So you want to make sure that the friction is all gone on mobile. Now let's actually go into the 7 steps you need to follow to improve the AOV on your store. These are 7 real strategies that you could implement, basically all of them on your store. So go one to one through your store and figure out which one is actually missing. Now the first one is the spend threshold. I already touched base on this a little bit earlier, but you want to motivate people to add more products to cart. That's how simple it is. And you do that by, the most obvious option is giving free shipping, and then even beyond that, you give them a gift or another product. And Kylie Cosmetics does this pretty well. So if I just added a product to cart and open the cart, I can see already at the top, you are $17 away from free shipping. Now, spending money on shipping sucks. You'd lose the money with nothing in return. So if I can spend $17 more on products, of course, I would want to save money on the shipping. But that's not where they stop. Free Moodstones mirror with any 65 plus fragrance purchase. So they're motivating me to spend $65 more because I don't have the product in cart. And then on top of that, spend another $42 and select one free gift. Now what that gift is, I don't know. It could work in some excitement, right? The gift, oh, that's awesome. But of course, it might also be very powerful to actually show what's in front of them. You probably know the image of the rabbit running with the fishing rod with a carrot in front of his face. That's kind of what you're doing here. You're trying to give something to someone and they're almost there. They have to push it. And then when they're there, you get something else. And it's a never-ending cycle. So you can implement something similar. Now, when it comes to giving away free shipping, and also a free gift, we know it's not free because you have to spend $52 more. You don't want to make a loss on this, right? So if you have an AOV at $100 and your shipping costs are $10, if you would increase your AOV, the thresholds, if you would set it to $120, you actually made another $20, which sounds great, but you also have to pay $10 for shipping, and then you only have $10 left. But from the additional $20 that you actually made, your profit margin is only, let's say, 30%. So it's actually $6 that you make out of a $20 bump. And we saw earlier that the shipping cost is $10. You made profit on $6, so you're actually losing $4, while your AOV increased by $20, 20%. So you need to be careful on how you calculate what the threshold should be. Think about your profit margin, your current AOV, and your shipping costs. But actually also often improving the giving away free shipping also improves the conversion rate slightly. So it kind of comes both ways. Now the AOV is easier to calculate. Now the contribution to your conversion rate coming from a free shipping threshold is very hard to figure out. But just make sure you calculate it right so you leave some margin and that you don't make a loss on the shipping. Now the second one is bundling products. This is such a powerful method, especially when it comes to e-commerce, because people love your product, but of course they want to get a discount if they would want to buy more, right? And this is used throughout the internet. One great example is Brooklinen, and you can see here one of their products, a bed blanket, and here at the bottom they also mention upgrade and save. Get 1 fitted sheet, 1 flat sheet, and 2 pillowcases with the classic blah blah blah. So they are getting more, I am getting more, and I save money because it's a 10%. Okay, they don't say exactly 10%. They could have said it to make it much stronger, right? But you want to make sure you offer a bundle. This could either be more items, bigger quantities. Just make sure that you earn more and give something in return. Now the third one is not necessarily good for AOV, but certainly good for your lifetime value, which is often a metric not necessarily included because it's much harder to calculate and to report on. But your subscriptions actually lower your AOV today. But of course, over the lifetime of the customer, they will pay that money back threefold, fivefold. There are great examples out there, and often they might be seen as annoying because nobody wants to subscribe. Everybody's afraid they would pay for something they don't need. Cancellation is a hassle. So implementing subscription is very sensitive and often could backfire. But there are products out there that will be consumed at a regular basis. One of those is Grüns, a billion-dollar company that grew incredibly fast on Shopify. And Grüns offers gummies, healthy gummies, supplements, and they offer a subscription business. Basically, every subscription business is doing it like that, but they make you choose between a subscription or a one-time purchase. But of course, the subscription is pre-selected. There's a discount. Sometimes there's free shipping. There are all these benefits added to it. And yes, you save a few bucks and you get more products in return. But of course, the business is happy because you pay more over a lifetime. Now, the fourth one is one of the easiest ones to implement. And this is an order bump. You make it incredibly easy for someone to add another product, another item to their cart when they're on the cart section, when they're on the checkout, or heck, any other page on the site. And actually, Mr. Beast does a very good example of this at his chocolate brand Feastables. Okay, I just added a few products to cart. And now when I open the cart, I'm presented with a big shiny banner here on the left. Try one of our favorites, chocolate milk. Now, I'm interested in this. add to bag. I only have to click once. And after I click, it immediately shows another product that's added as well. And it keeps going and going. It's a never-ending upsell. And all I have to do is just one click. And that is kind of all you want to request from your customer. It needs to be super easy. It needs to be seamless. And that generates the best results, simplicity. And now the fifth one is a post-purchase upsell. This is after someone has made a purchase and they've reached the thank you page. You can make them a Godfather offer that is so good that it can almost not be resisted. This is an offer that could be incredibly unique, something you don't offer on the site itself, or a very good discount. Maybe you even offer a product they saw, they added to cart, but eventually didn't purchase. You can give them a one lifetime opportunity to purchase this product very easily with just two clicks on the button, and they've purchased something of an additional $50, but you gave them a crazy discount and something they really desire. And this is often how you can even increase your AOV. I know it's technically 2 orders, but it's the same session where you motivate the customer to make a purchase. And you know they're ready because they've already purchased one product, they got the money, they love your product, and they're really excited to see what you can deliver. But now, before they leave your online store, you just give them a Godfather offer they cannot resist. And then the sixth one is a quantity tier, another very simple option you can offer. And this is such an important one because by offering more quantity, you get more, client gets more, everybody's happy. You give them a little bit of your discount, but of course you always want to have a small piece of a huge pie than a bigger piece of a very small pie. And that's exactly what we implement here. A very simple example here are these socks. You can see that you either have a single option or you have a 2-pack option. It's a very simple upsell. And going back to Grunz, they do actually something very similar. When you order their products, they just ask you for how many adults is this, for 1 or 2. And they don't just ask the quantity, 1 or 2, but they make it real. They make you think about your partner that would be left out. And they make it a more emotional and relevant option to choose from. Because often when you see the quantity selector on an e-commerce store, you kind of ignore it because who buys 2 of the same? But now they make it a lot more emotional and relevant to you to actually choose 2. Now the first one is from Hexclad. They sell high quality pens. And they already show you here, $6.99 is the current price, but the value is actually $9.99. I can bet you this price is always there. It never goes back to $9.99, but it makes you feel the value of the product is $1,000, not $700. And then they also put 30% savings. I bet you're not saving anything. This is just the normal price, but they anchor it towards a very high price and makes you feel you're stealing something. This is an opportunity you cannot miss out on. And the other option they could have had here too, to apply price anchoring, is with the quantity selectors. So currently they don't communicate anything about the price, but they could have made you feel like the 30-piece set is just a few dollars more than the 25-piece set, right? This is a big jump. This is double. So the price is probably, I don't know, plus 80%. But this is a smaller jump. So the price difference could be very small. But then it makes you don't want to have the smallest one. So you go for the middle one. But this one is so close and I'll take the last one too. Probably doesn't work for every customer, but for many it does. And then going back to the Brooklinen example, they do the same here, right? They show the original price of $229, now it's $194, and it gives you 15% off. I can bet you too here that the price is always this. They never go back to the old one. Great. Now we've gone through these 7 steps. Now have a look at the next one, where we say numbers never lie. So it's important to, after you've made all these changes, that you review what has it actually done for your e-commerce store. How has the performance changed? And what is specifically is the revenue per visitor, right? Because applying all these AOV techniques might work, but possibly your conversion rate went down because you maybe make things a little bit more complicated, more options. So by calculating the RPV again, you know exactly how much money you actually made applying all these techniques. And of course you want it to go up compared to the metric before you implemented all this. Now, when you're testing these things, ideally you run an A/B test. An A/B test is just 2 variants of your site that run at the exact same time. So within 5 minutes, 2 people come to the site and they both see a different version. This is much better than running one variant in July and the other variant in August. Perhaps people are on holiday, they just got paid, the weather was better, everything might change the results. So the best way to do it is to run an A/B test. But if you don't have enough data, you can still change the site and see if it performs, but it's just less reliable. But I would assure you it's best to let it sit for at least 2 weeks. Don't make drastic changes that quickly, because especially if it goes down, you might get nervous and want to turn it back off, but perhaps the next day everything would have been recovered. And make sure that you only change one thing at a time. Of course, if you're going to change a whole bunch of stuff on your site, it really creates more noise and you're not able to understand what actually made the change in performance. And also, when you analyze the data, you want to make sure you segment by device, by type of customer, and you can even go further to the traffic source. You want to figure out how have these changes made an impact on each of these segments, because it could possibly work that on mobile it works, but on desktop it does not. And that is fine. You can keep it like that, right? Don't expect it to work for everybody all the time. And then subscriptions are slow, but yeah, we know. So the whole idea is having compounding stack, right? You want to incrementally improve the AOV through all these 7 techniques, and maybe some of them don't fit your business and some of them didn't work out, but ideally you have as many techniques as possible so customers really get what they want for the best price, and you leave happy because you have a higher AOV that you can then reinvest in generating more traffic, and then of course the flywheel starts going. Now here at the bottom I have a few other metrics that you could reference to when it comes to your e-commerce store. These might be helpful to understand and compare yourself with. Of course, there are tons of Shopify apps out there that can help you do all these things, right? You got algorithms that help you recommend the right products. You got upsells that are based on someone's preferences. There are tons of apps to make this all possible. And of course, each of these techniques are located on a different location on the page, right? On the product page, you might have upsells, you have cross-sells, threshold callouts. You could, for example, mention that a product includes free shipping because this product takes you over the free shipping threshold. There's a subscription option. And in the cart, you probably have a progress bar based on how much they've spent. You do some cross-sell suggestions. On the checkout, you have an order bump, make it incredibly easy to just add more products to cart, but it could also be on the cart page, like we saw earlier with Feastables. On the thank you page, you can do a quick upsell, cross-sell, downsell, subscription nudges. So if someone didn't subscribe, you can maybe give them a little bit of a discount to still get them motivated to subscribe. And of course, site-wide price anchoring and bundle as primary. And that is it. I think that is a wrap. That should give you a very good insight on what are the techniques to improve your average order value, but it comes possibly at the expense of conversion rate. So make sure you calculate your revenue per visitor. Now, if you're interested to learn more about conversion rate optimization, definitely subscribe to the channel. If you got any questions, let me know. And if you want me to analyze your site, definitely reach out.